Then we saw the other Terran go. Wow, I can't even remember his name. Straylock. Sorry about that. Straylock go. And we're going to see how this plays out a little bit. The timing and all of that. He did go for 3 Marines instead of 2. And now he's getting a Reaper, and that is going to give him a lot of scouting ability and is going to allow him to harass a little bit. But here's the interesting part. Well, most interesting in my opinion. Huck goes for a 1-gate robo, so we are going to be able to pump out that observer really quickly. And that is going to allow for a lot of awareness and knowing the composition and position of your enemy. And at first I thought we were going to see a 4 Marine Hellion push, which I thought was going to be unusual because the map is so long and there's already sentry out by the time you get there. But he's actually just going for harass, early gum harass, which can be effective. But as we see here, it's not so much. Excuse me. We do pick off about 3 probes. Here's an important do. Do be very good at denying a harass like this, making that Reaper explode into oblivion. Keeping some units on the low ground and 1 on the high ground, splitting it up, does help a lot. And it was a very nice scan. Because he was able to see this 1-gate robo. He does know that Huck is in a very tender situation, very vulnerable. A very tender situation, I don't even know. Because he has 3 units. And if he had committed more to Marine Mirage instead of this 1-1-1 build, he definitely would have been in a lot more trouble. So yeah, Silver... How do I keep doing that? Silver is going for the 1-1-1 instead of the 2 racks factory. And he's throwing down a command center. And the reason he's able to do this is because he scouted this out, knew that there was only 1 gateway, 1 measly gateway, and said, alright, if he has no units, how is he going to possibly stop me from putting up an expo? So do take advantage of your opponent's number of units, because then you can just expand if he has nothing to stop you with. Pretty self-explanatory, so I'm just not gonna stop rambling here. And I'm so extremely tired, but I'm gonna power through this because I'm a hoss. But yeah, we get a tech lab up actually, so he's not really gonna go for this heavy Hellion composition, which we do see sometimes, though he is producing a Hellion just to make me look like an idiot. Later on, we do see him get a tank, which does help him gain a lot of key positioning, and he is able to defend more effectively in that way. So after this 1-gate robo, he does transition into a 2nd gateway, warp gate, and he does get a Twilight Council, which will give him this charge again. So it's a recurring factor in Protoss versus Terran, because getting those Zealots so much more speedy is key, especially against Marines and Marauders. And making this into an orbital command before lifting off, a little off on the timing. He should be lifting it and saturating the expo, but he's kind of just sitting there. There you go. Okay. But Huck had scouted this way earlier. He did have his observer. And he took advantage of that by expanding himself. Because he said, hey, if my opponent's going to be in the situation where he's spending resources on expanding instead of units, I don't have to spend as much resources on units either. So I'll expand as well. It's basically fighting fire with fire and countering an expand with an expand, which is quite effective, and he is able to get it up and saturate it before Silver here, so very nice. And we see that, ooh, wow, oh my god, just taking, Humble for Craft taking some heavy yawn blows here. But Silver taking advantage of one of the golden rules, which is keep a lot of map sight, which he's doing with very mobile units, Hellions, not using them for harassment, which would be nice to see, but this mobile army of stalkers would take care of that right away at this stage of the game. But yeah, it does allow him to see a lot of things, and he is going to back off because he sees all this coming, but yes, we are going to see a timing push. Fight it, Hobo, fight it. We are going to see a timing push. After this Immortal is pumped out, we're going to see him go for a fast attack. And meanwhile, he's putting, this is pretty important, he's putting down a lot of gateways because he's putting up an expo. And he's going to have the economy to be able to pump out units from all of these warp gates. Instead of just stocking up, oh, another terrible click. Instead of just stocking up minerals and not being able to produce a lot from just 2. So very important to pump out a lot if you want to put up a lot of warp gates if you want to pump out units. But another important thing is do use your observer very well in that you do scout the position of your opponent's army so you are able to know exactly where they are. Huck doesn't exactly want to commit when there's a tank sieging up here, and he does wait for it to unsiege to push in, so that's very smart of him here. And we're going to see a little bit of an encounter here. Something pretty important. Always put up your Guardian Shield, obviously. And with your Immortal, you want to be focus firing the mech units. Which are the tank, first of all, because it does the most damage. And then the Hellions. They are mech and do a lot of damage versus light, 24 damage versus light. So you can see that he is going to be focus firing with that Immortal, so very important. Do focus fire. And this Immortal is very immobile, so he's just going to keep it back. Anyway, little miss micromanagement here, but both units do get away. Scot-free. Scot-free. And meanwhile, just macroing up. Did open up a little bit of a bank account and does have a bit of minerals saved up. But, oh, I missed it again. Oh, actually, no. See, what Silver did here in the meantime was he did throw down 2 turrets. Where's his Raven? It's right here. He did throw it down while this was happening. He actually waited for it to end because he didn't want to micro this. But if he had thrown this down while the battle was happening, I'm sure that all of these probes would have been dead. He did pick off 3 or 4. So still very good use of harass in mid-game. So do keep up harassment on the probe line whenever possible because it's always good to hinder your opponent's economy to limit the amount of units they will be able to pump out, especially against Protoss, who can just pump out units so fast with these warp gates, guys. So yeah, just saturating this expo, being very Terran-esque, playing pretty passively here now. Gonna speed this up a little bit, and just look at all the gateway he's throwing down now. And actually is putting up 2 Stargates. So this can be somewhat of a risky tech, especially when there is a tech labbed starport that can produce a lot of Vikings. But we are actually going to see Huck go for Void Rays. And it, depending on how you use them, they can pay off a bunch in the late mid game, in the early late game, and all throughout the late game, in fact. So if you use them very well, they would just be such an advantage. And we're going to see a nice push come here for Silver. Oh, here comes the yawn. I'm actually really sorry about all these yawns, guys, but I've been trying to stay disciplined and going to bed early because of football stuff, but I'm just sounding like I'm really bored. I'm not. I'm just extremely tired. Here's an important too. For all Terran players, basically any race as well. Always, 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 always scout before you go in for a heavy push. Obviously, because you want to know what exactly is going on and you want to know how you will be able to position yourself. And we're going to see Huck kind of violate one of the golden rules, which is um, do not attack the Terran when he is at the choke. He sieged up way back here and pulled Huck back. Um, really led him right into that. I'm surprised that Huck actually fell for such a lame tactic. But maybe he thought he could just overrun with all his units. Excuse me. Oh, I thought he probably thought he would be able to overrun based on unit count. But he's missing all of this space because of this choke. He's not able to surround in any way, shape, or form or attack from this side. So just basically this side is open, which is huge advantage for the Terran, as you will see here. Stim pack and this point defense drone. Just Huck obviously had Silver outnumbered and out composition, but this point defense drone from the Raven absorbs so much damage. And guys, if you're Terran, definitely use this more. I really would like to see this used more often from Terran players because it's really not utilized enough. So yeah, just pointing that out. And just being a hoss. Yeah, so this is why you don't fight a Terran in a choke. But luckily, we do see these Void Rays being pumped out just in time, and they take out all these Marines. Excuse me, I'm excited. I really am excited. So yeah, all that taken out. Very nicely done by Huck. And now Huck has 5 Void Rays. Holy crap, 6 Void Rays. And he is matched as far as basically matched as far as harvester count goes with Silver. So he looks like he's in a really good position. Well, because he is. Excuse me. But meanwhile, Silver actually did put up an expo and even a planetary fortress while all this was going on, which is one of a very important tactic, which is expo while you attack. Very self-explanatory and always pretty effective and good way to get an expo up without having to worry about it later. And we're just gonna see these Void Rays dominate. And Marines, this amount of Marines Stimpact obviously do work. But pick off this Viking. There it goes. We're gonna see all these Marines come back, but if Huck had charged up his Void Rays and the Marines were kind of split up as you guys saw, he would have been able to take all of those out very easily. So when using Void Rays, it's very important to charge up before anything else, which you do by going after the more hit point heavy units or buildings. And just gonna micro this Void Ray back very nicely. And here's that tactic. Expanding while you're being aggressive does take the gold. So we've got a symmetrical expansion match going on. And meanwhile, Silver's going to go for kind of a base race type thing. Excuse me. God, I'm yawning like crazy here. I'm really sorry about this, guys. But Silver's going for kind of a base race